Good morning, everyone. Oh, I see that we're starting to get some attendees joining. We're just going to wait a minute or two to let everyone join, and then we'll get underway with our Take Our Kids to Work Day presentation. Okay, so I actually see that we have a fair amount joined in, so welcome everyone. My name is Lauren Kinghorn. I'm a communications officer with Canadian Nuclear Laboratories, and thanks for joining us today. I really wish we could be in person with you on site, but unfortunately we'll have to make do with virtual for this year. So most of you probably know someone that works at Canadian Nuclear Laboratories or are related to someone who works at Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. So today we're just kind of going to try and give you an overview of some of the jobs, some of the areas that we have people working in, and even this is just a very small snippet of what we have to offer. And I'm just going to do a slight little plug. If your teachers or any of the science teachers wanted a presentation, hopefully in the future a site tour, please feel free to reach out to me, Lauren Kinghorn, to set up tours or in-class presentations to learn more about what happens here at CNL, because we're always happy to do those. And if you need, so with this virtual format, unfortunately, we can't have you kind of asking questions as we go along, but we do have a question and answer box to the side. So up at the top of the screen, you'll see two little chat bubbles that have a question mark in them. You can just click on there and you'll see it says ask your questions here, and you can type your questions in, and at the end, after everyone's done presenting, I'll go through the questions and ask them to our presenters as we move along. So with that, I'm actually the first presenter today. So I'm just going to give you a little bit about my background and what I do and how I got here. So for me, I actually went to Mackenzie High School in Deep River many years ago. And when I went through school, I kind of kept my options open, took classes, courses at all levels, kind of more of the university track just to keep options open for whatever I wanted to do. I really had no idea, not a clue what I wanted to do in school, where I wanted to go, what I would do for the rest of my life. It seemed like a big question. So I just kind of did all the courses I could, graduated, and actually still had no idea, really wasn't sure what I wanted to take, and knew myself well enough to know that if I went to school not knowing, I probably would drop out. So wasn't really the spot for me to head right from there. So I actually took a year off and went overseas. I moved to New Zealand for what was supposed to be 9 months, and I actually ended up staying there for 2.5 years, working for travel companies and a hostel over there. And at the end of those 2.5 years, just through some of my experiences that I'd had working for the company and some just kind of things that had happened while I was there, when I came back, I was talking to my best friend's mom about what I thought I wanted to do as a career. And I said, you know, I like running things behind the scenes. I like figuring out what we're going to say, how we talk to people. And she said, that sounds a lot like public relations. And so I was like, public relations. And I started researching it and looked into it. And I was like, yeah, that actually really does sound like something I'd like to do. So I looked into the programs and found universities that offered them, and ended up going to Mount St. Vincent University out in Halifax. And I took their public relations program, which actually comes with it's a required co-op program, which I will sing the praises of co-ops from every rooftop. They are a great thing. Take them in school, take them in high school when you can. So through my program, I had 3 co-ops. And one of the things I had sworn I would never do in my public relations career was I would never work for government, and I would never work in science. And funnily enough, all 3 of my co-ops ended up being with government organizations and in science fields. And it turns out I really liked it. It's super fun. It's super challenging work, trying to communicate the super intense and amazing science to the general public and telling them what that means and how that, you know, what that means for the general population when you're talking about the research being done at facilities like CNL. So I found out or figured out that I really liked it. So then when I was done, graduated, I was applying to jobs, struggling, trying to find work, and actually a position at CNL, who I had had my third co-op with, came up in the department I had worked in when I was a co-op student. So I applied, thankfully was given an interview, got in, and have been working in the corporate communications team at CNL ever since. And so my job, really, I'm external communications, so I do a lot of our external facing events, go out, talk to the public, talk to kids in schools, help with event planning, help with writing articles, to go out and really trying to tell the world what CNL is doing. So that's kind of my role and how I landed in this job, but that was kind of my way of getting here. And it's just one of the many fields. You know, don't close yourself off and think, oh, science, I'm not a science person, I'm not going to do that. I really encourage you to just take the courses you can and see where it takes you, because you won't end up where you think you will, is kind of my little tidbit on the end of that. And after that very fast talk, I'm going to pass it over to Anand to give you a rundown on his work and what he does.
Oh, sorry, Anand, you're on mute. Anand, sorry, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, cool. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not the best with computers, but so my name's Anand Abushushe. I work at MED at CNL, so I work on site. Here I do a lot of hands-on work, and that's sort of ever since I was a kid, that's what I dreamed of doing. When I was in high school, I really liked shop class, I really liked tech class, and I really wanted to go into a career where I could really explore that and do that, you know, as a job and do that every day because I enjoyed it so much. I was never the type of person who actually enjoyed writing tests or doing exams. Where I really got down was if a teacher gave me a project, I would shoot it out of the park. So that was my favorite type of work. So thank God I found something like this at CNL, and I've always liked science and technology. So it's perfect, and I really love the job. So at MED, we do a bunch of different things. We do machining, we do 3D printing. I'm the head of the 3D printing department. So as you can see behind me, we have multiple printers. We have printers that can print in carbon fiber, printers that can print in nylon, printers that can print in PLA and ABS and all those fancy plastics. But our main concern is prototyping. So they come to us when they need a challenge, when they have a challenge and they need to solve it. So we provide solutions, mechanical solutions, electrical solutions, and a lot of the times prototyping falls straight into that path of 3D printing. So that's what I do, and I really enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun. So I actually have some trinkets to show you guys. This was actually a customer actually came to us, and they had a problem where they needed to take a sample out of a tank, and the tank was full of radioactive fluid. So if you can imagine, it would be hard to get somebody in there to actually take a sample. So we actually designed a tool and we printed it. And this is the tool. It's very simple. It's a spring, and this is all 3D printed, and this is an off-the-shelf component from one of our suppliers. And this actually attaches to a stick, threads onto a stick, and it gets actuated by a vacuum. And when the vacuum activates, this plunger opens. And what that does is it allows us to capture a sample, but once the vacuum is turned off, it actually closes and seals itself back up. So what we can do with that is we can take samples and we don't have to worry about it leaking anywhere. And a geometry like this would be very difficult, especially with these internal baffles, the machine. So conventional manufacturing techniques wouldn't be too good for this. So that's where 3D printing comes in. And we can produce a lot of those very quickly. One time they wanted one made out of metal to actually withstand the high temperatures. So we made that too. We can print in plastics, but we can also print in metal. These are printed out of copper. So we can actually print copper, we can print Mcconnell, and this is actually the same material used for jet engines. So we can print that on site, stainless steels, and these are all printed with their capabilities. Also, we had a situation where they wanted a special wrench, and we actually made that. We machined the part for it to keep the weight because we wanted it to fall directly onto it. But this was 3D printed. We provide part numbers, so whenever they need to replacement, they can just let us know this is the part we need, and we can just produce one. As simple as just pressing print. And we can have that off to the customer. And if you've noticed, a lot of our tools actually have a very square shape. They have a square or rectangular profile. And that's because a lot of our tools, they're used in very radioactive environments where we actually have remote tooling and remote arms. They're called manipulators. And they're kind of like, if you ever went to one of those shows, like a parade or a fair, where they have those claws that you have to pull out toys from, and you try to win the iPhone or the iPad or the gift card. It's kind of like that, but industrial, and that prevents our workers from getting in contamination in radioactive environments that would harm them. So a lot of our tools are actually suited for that use. Also, we do robotics. So this is a robotic arm that we actually printed. This was printed out of metal. This is out of carbon fiber, and a lot of the parts are off the shelf. So this actually moves and it rotates. And that's to undo a connector where the arms couldn't get in. We also designed remote tooling. This looks pretty funny, but it's actually a drill attached to another drill. And this allows us to run the drill remotely inside one of our hot cells. And it allows us to control it from outside. So you can pivot, you can actually put it in reverse and go forward. And a lot of the handle is actually 3D printed because we 3D scanned it and then printed it to match that. Do a lot of stuff like that. We also do modeling. This is a model of the Douglas Point reactor, and this was printed on our site. We printed a 25th scale reactor, and this is useful for when they have meetings and they want to plan out decommissioning of these objects. And we also do 3D printed shielding. So this is a flask we made for a customer, and we can actually print tungsten, which allows us to print really interesting objects very quickly without the use of toxic lead, which we used to do, but we moved away from that. And finally, this is one of the tools that we actually produced. Customer came to us and they wanted a holder to hold some sources, and this source holder would be used in our hand and foot monitors. And this used to cost $15,000 from the manufacturer, and we made it for like 200. So it's much cheaper, and it has a cool mechanism where this actually slides out, and you can actually install your sources. And when you're done, you lock it in place. And it also has adapters built into it. So that's what I do. I do a lot of prototyping and with the 3D printing, but the rest of our group, we also do prototyping and machining. So I'll pass it off to Megan. That's it for me. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Anon. That's really interesting. I am also learning stuff about different areas around CNL as we go through this. So I didn't know all those capabilities. So I'm glad I joined in here. So my name's Megan, and I'm an environmental specialist in the environmental protection branch. So what I do is I am mostly focused on biodiversity monitoring. So what I do is I look for what species at risk, specifically species at risk, are on the CRL site, and I look at ways to protect those species and their habitats. So I do a mix of field work, so I'm out in the field sometimes, which is really fun and interesting. And then I also get to learn about a whole bunch of new different species at risk that are on our site, and I get to learn a lot about different animals that I didn't know a lot about before. So how did I get here? Well, in high school, I didn't really have a career path. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I don't know if that many people do know what they want to do in high school, but I knew I loved the outdoors. I was passionate about animals, and I really liked environmental protection, so environmental remediation and that type of thing. So I went off to university. I attended Trent University. I got my bachelor's degree in environmental science. I took a wide range of courses because I didn't know where I wanted to end up. So I took geography, biology, chemistry, all sorts of different types of courses, natural resource management, across the board. And then when I finished up, I took some time off. I worked for Department of Fisheries and Oceans as a fish biologist, which was really cool. I did a lot of field work. I got to do fun things like electrofishing, going to catch fish in streams, IDing them, seeing what fish were where and what habitats they were using. After I worked in the industry for a little bit, I decided I wanted to go back to school. When I was in high school, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd want to go back to school because I really didn't want to be in school anymore. But the interesting thing about higher education, whether it's apprenticeships or college or university, is you get to pick courses that you really are passionate about, and you kind of really discover maybe you do like school and you do like learning new things. So I decided to go back to school and get my master's. And in that, I did my master's in environmental science again. And I did a thesis looking at flying squirrels and the social behaviors of flying squirrels. So I got my own project, I got to run it, I got to develop it, look at what I wanted to do with that, and I did all my own field work, wrote up all the reports myself. So it was really, for me, really exciting to do a project that was all my own. When I finished school, I had a few contracts with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, which again, my career path has kind of been helter-skelter, a little bit all over the place. So working with DFO, I did a lot of work with fish, and then my contracts with the Ministry of Natural Resources, I did a bunch of invasive species plant work. So I learned a lot about invasive plants in Ontario specifically, and how that interacts with our environment and how that impacts different species and landscapes in Ontario. I also did a contract looking at invasive fish species, species at risk fish species with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources. So I got a wide variety of experiences from fish to plants to mammals, which really set me up in a diverse way to be suited for my job here at CNL. I've worked at CNL for 7 years now, and I've worked with this kind of the diverse species that's led me to here. So I've worked with fish in the Ottawa River. I've worked with forest songbirds. So obviously with a big forested site like ours, there's a lot of songbirds that you're using those different habitats. I've worked with turtles. We do a lot of work with turtles on our site. Mammals as well. So there's species at risk wolves that use our site as well. Obviously, there's lots of non-species at risk that we monitor as well. So really having that diverse, not knowing what I wanted to do, and then getting experience in a lot of different areas has really helped me and set me up well for my position here now, because I get to learn a lot of new things, and I can get experience in a lot of new areas that I didn't have this experience or knowledge before. I don't have any cool trinkets to show you, unfortunately, but that's kind of what I do now and the career path or the path that took me here. So I know a lot of you don't know necessarily where you want to go, but just pick courses and do things that interest you, and it'll lead you to somewhere maybe you never imagined it would take you. And with that, I'm going to pass you off to Matthew.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Hi, everybody. My name's Matt Mcconnell. I am a maintenance manager up here at CNL. I've been here for about 12 years now. Unlike most people up here, I shouldn't say most people, but unlike a lot of people up here, I'm not from the area. I'm from Perth originally, which is a small town just kind of on the other side of Ottawa. Grew up much the same though, hunting, fishing, sports, all that stuff. We pretty well have the same small, tight-knit communities that you guys have up here. And when I was in high school too, just much of the same. I didn't really know what I wanted. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to play sports. I wanted to meet as many people as I could. But then the pressure was there for the post-secondary school. So yeah, there seemed to be a lot of drive to get to university. I didn't have the greatest marks. I tried all the time, right? And I did the best I could. But again, with the focus they put on us, I did make it into Carleton. But like Lauren, I decided to take a year off, and actually uncannily, like Lauren, I too moved to New Zealand after high school once I graduated. I wasn't there as long as she was. I only did stay for the 8 months, but I relished that opportunity to tour around, gain as much experience as I could, meet as many new people as I could, and it was a very solid choice, because I think really with the pressure I had to go into post-secondary schooling, I needed that break to make sure it was something that I did want to follow. Throughout my high school career, history was one of my favorite courses. I had some great history teachers, so it put me in there for that. And when I went to Carleton, I majored in classical history with a minor in world geography. So classical was all Greek, Roman stuff, all the cool stuff from a while ago. While I was attending university, though, summers off, my dad had owned a contracting company. He was an electrician and had about 8 people working for him. So just for the summers, to make some extra money on the side, I would work for him. And fortunately, doing that, I was gaining experience and hours towards an apprenticeship that I wasn't even signed up for. So I did my 3 years at Carleton. Once that was done, again, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, a teacher or carry on with some more schooling. So I went back and I continued working for my dad. And in that year anyway, I basically made the decision to just stick it out and stick with the apprenticeship. So I signed up. I got to backtrack all my hours, so it kind of put me through on a fast pace to get it done, and I ended up becoming a licensed electrician in 2007. So I guess I don't want to take up too much time here, but to really sum it up, it's hard to know what and where you want to do and how to plan for that. But if I can give anybody some advice, I'd say try to get as much experience as you can. Take in as many aspects of life as you can, be it traveling or education or schooling. But I'll always know that things can change, and if you just try hard and work hard, it'll usually work out for the best. Saying that, I'm going to pass you off to Jennifer to close us out. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, everybody. My name is Jen Sparling, and I work as a veterinary technologist in the radiobiology and health branch here at CNL. So today I'll give you a bit of a snapshot of my background, my education, my experience with the career path that I've chosen. So I grew up with a ton of animals, dogs, cats, I rode horses. Animals were a big part of my life. And I knew really early on that I really wanted to work with people or animals, helping, teaching, something kind of in that realm of things. So I'm really a hands-on person. Science was really something that I gravitated towards in high school, specifically biology. I definitely was that kid that got right into the dissecting of the frog. So I decided to go to St. Lawrence College. I took a 3-year veterinary technology program. I did an extra year with animal behavior and nutrition. And I left there with a lot of scientific background, some practical lab training, and veterinary skills to work both in a clinical and a laboratory setting. So once out of college, I really was puzzled with where I wanted to be. I started off being from Ottawa. I started in a really fast-paced animal hospital. I worked shift work, was right in the emergency department, and really loved that scene. I moved into research a couple years later. I worked out of the General Hospital in Ottawa, where at the Ottawa Regional Cancer Center, where I dove right into preclinical stuff with human clinical trials with cancer patients. And I was kind of the lab person doing all the mouse work. So I really got a huge charge from being in research. So graduates from, a technology program, a veterinary technology program in particular, have a lot of different opportunities for biomedical research facilities, for universities, animal shelters, zoos, pharmaceuticals, and even teaching, in the veterinary programs. And the co-ops that come out of these programs are phenomenal because they do give you those avenues to do things like the clinical rotation, the research rotation, and then kind of an alternate rotation to explore things like, wildlife and zoology and all that sort of thing. So my experience really has been a split, like I mentioned, right out of school into clinic. Then I got into research, really enjoyed that. I moved out to BC, stayed in a clinical job for many years, and then landed a job here at CNL almost 7 years ago. So what do I do here? I have a really cool job. I work in the biological research facility as a vet technologist, and I support many research pathways and groups doing in vivo, so animal mouse work, and in vitro cell-based work. We do use live biological specimens in the labs here, so mice, rats, fish. And we also oversee field studies, kind of in Megan's department that she was talking about, which involve more of the wildlife animals out in the field, like birds, turtles, bats, fish, those types of animals. So here in the biological research facility, we have an animal care team. I'm one of 6 veterinary technologists. We also have a veterinarian. We circulate as a team and we take care of all the animal health examinations, treatments, technical procedures, imaging, cage changing, all the husbandry side of things. We also have an animal care committee to be able to run animal science. We are governed by a Canadian company that basically provides a set of guidelines for us, and we have to have an animal care committee that oversees all of the animal protocols that people put into place to ensure that, animal welfare and ethics program is kind of the top priority. So I'm the animal care committee chair who helps out a lot within the committee. So overall, the science and tech organization here at CNL is, it's a world-class research and technology development program that has 4 themed areas of energy, health, environment, and safety and security. So I fit under that health and environment area, and we look at things like understanding the health effects of low-dose radiation in animals, isotopes like tritium, radon, uranium, gamma radiation, to further understand biological responses to internal and external radiation exposure, and to overall optimize cancer therapies and regenerative medicine. So we work towards cures, and it's definitely a super cool environment that changes all the time. So I work with a ton of great people, scientists like radiochemists, biologists, health physicists, environmental specialists, tons of different technologists that come out of, the technology or the technician programs, such as, the veterinary technologists, the biotechnologists, medical lab technologists that you see, working in hospitals, doing all the blood analysis and that sort of thing as well. And we get a ton of students through here too, grad students, PhD students, summer students. We get a lot of vet tech students that come. So the opportunities are really endless, specifically in science and here at CNL. Life definitely is never boring. It's very progressive workplace with so many opportunities and so many experiences to gain. I'm still, like a few people have mentioned, learning about what people do here. There's a lot of unique capabilities that we have on site, and it's really allowed me to feel rewarded in helping both people and animals, because I get to do a lot of hands-on training to teach people kind of what we do here. So I get the best part of working with the animals and some great people. And that's basically everything in a nutshell. So I guess back to you, Lauren.
Thanks so much, Jen. So thanks so much to all of our presenters today. We are a little bit over schedule, so I know at least one of my presenters has a 10:30 meeting, so may drop off. But if you do have questions, I do notice that we're up in attendees, so some of you may have missed. If you have questions that you'd like to ask, up at the top, there's two little chat bubbles with a question mark in them. That's the Q&A section. And you can type your questions in there, or if this is a teacher presenting to their class, teacher can maybe type in some questions, and I can ask them to our presenters. I don't see any in right now, but if you do, feel free to type them in, and we can ask Jen or Anon or Matt or Megan or myself anything that you'd like about what you've heard today, or if there's something you'd like to learn more about. And this is just a little aside. We like to know who's watching or who's listening in. So teachers, or if you're just a student at home, please feel free to email me, lauren.kinghorn, lauren.kinghorn, KINGHORN, @cnl.ca, and just let us know what you thought of the presentation, where you were viewing from. If you do want to have an in-class presentation or another presentation in the future, feel free to reach out to me, and we can set something up. We love to send people out to give presentations on the work we're doing. We've done presentations for careers classes as well. But I don't see any questions coming in. So I guess we've done an okay job of letting you know about some of the jobs here at CNL. Like I said off the start, this is just a very small snippet of all the jobs CNL has to offer. We have over 3,000 employees working at CNL, so you know it's kind of hard to squish it all into half an hour. But oh, if you would like to know, well, thank you. This is wonderful. I'm seeing from teachers from Bishop tuning in, and this one doesn't say, but thanks so much for the comments back. If you do have anything you'd like to ask in the future, or anything else you'd like to reach out to us about, feel free. Hopefully we'll be back to doing student tours soon, and we'll be able to welcome you onto site. And so thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day with Take Our Kids to Work Day virtual. Have a good day.